Senator Feeney.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you once again to the Minority Leader for his question and for setting the table on this. This is a very important bill, and I think everybody here is familiar with this. I certainly cannot take credit for authoring this piece of legislation. That belongs to our former colleague, former State Senator Ann Goby, who's been a champion of this legislation for a long time now, our Rural Affairs Director in the Healy administration. I also want to thank again the Senate President and the Chair Ways and Means for moving this bill along again this session. This piece of legislation, something that we've done in the past before, but recognizing the importance of this for individual homeowners. Mr. President, an act relative to the remediation of home heating oil releases is a redrafted version of a bill which was reported favorably by the committee that I am blessed to chair, the Joint Committee on Financial Services, and filed by our former colleague, as I said, and stalwart champion for consumer protection, Senator Ann Goby. Financial Services Committee once again heard this bill in committee and reported it out favorably to this chamber, and following the lead and legacy of our friend Senator Goby, we aim to pass it once again in just a few moments. This bill, Mr. President, is designed to be a consumer protection measure, as we heard from the leader, by requiring that all homeowners' insurance policies include coverage for the remediation of an accidental release of home heating oil. In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Mr. President, 650,000 homes are heated with home heating oil. Of these, most, and I say most, a significant number, do not have insurance coverage if the tanks leak. Imagine having a tank in your home holding fuel, and if it leaks, you are not covered by insurance. Right now, insurance coverage options can be a little bit confusing to the average consumer. Current law, our current statutes, Mr. President, only require insurers to, and I use quotation fingers, make available this type of insurance, but it is not required. And oftentimes, people don't even know that they have the option or perhaps the responsibility as a homeowner to have this coverage. They just don't know. Because of that, the net result is that only 16% of homes heated with oil tanks, roughly 16%, actually opt in to that coverage, which is offered as a rider to their home insurance coverage policy, and which only costs less than $100 a year for most people. The cleanup costs, however, in the event of an accidental spill can be astronomical and can plunge a family into financial ruin. Many times those are unsuspecting consumers, homeowners, that don't even realize that they weren't covered. Imagine you discover a leak in your oil tank, whether it's in your basement or somewhere in your home. You call your insurance company to try and open a claim, and then you discover that you don't even have the insurance coverage in the first place. And not only that, you're not covered, but you didn't even realize that you had the opportunity to put that rider on your policy. As the chair of the Committee on Financial Services, Mr. President, I've had the opportunity to meet with many individuals who have been impacted by the unimaginable situation of an unexpected home heating oil spill. We have heard from a number of affected individuals recently at the hearing that we had just this session. One gentleman from the western part of our state realized his oil tank had been leaking, and before he knew it, his water was contaminated. His land was contaminated. And he was, listen to this shocking number, $507,000 in the hole over an oil tank leak. $507,000 in the hole, spending his entire retirement when he could have been covered for about $75 a year. Think about that. Your entire life savings, your retirement is gone because of an oil leak in a tank in your home that caused you to be in the hole over $500,000. A family in New Bedford going through the process of selling their mother's home in order to cover costs associated with moving her into a long-term care facility, which many across the Commonwealth can share that experience and know what that's like. They were selling their mother's home. They needed the money to move mom into a long-term care facility, and they had a spill with their oil tank that resulted in over $45,000 in damage that had to be paid for out of pocket, and as a result, they lost about 25% of the equity in their home. I mean, this is life-changing stuff that could be covered for just a few bucks in your homeowner's insurance policy. At those same hearings, Mr. President, we also heard from industry representatives. And I want to say sincerely from the bottom of my heart, I really do appreciate them meeting with us and having conversations not only with me and my team and members of the committee, but also, Mr. President, meeting with Ways and Means and meeting with staff of the Senate President's office. You know, this is not easy for them either, but they did engage in these conversations, and I think we're going to have a fruitful relationship going forward to try and work on many of these issues together. But we heard from them as well, not only just with their opposition, but some potential solutions as well with this problem. Mr. President, this bill simply would take that language that says that that coverage must be made available, and it would mandate that insurance in Massachusetts actually provide residential owners with insurance for damage to home and property caused by a leak in a residential liquid fuel tank or home fuel supply lines. If you spread that cost across all homeowners, as we do in the insurance market, then it's a de minimis increase in cost to the consumer, but will save many of the 100-ish people a year that suffer incredible economic harm due to a leak in their oil tank. Mr. President, not only is this bill a consumer protection measure, but it is an environmental protection measure as well. It allows for the quick remediation of home heating oil spills so that people don't have to figure out who's going to pay for it. These oil spills, we know, can have devastating impacts on groundwater supplies and ecosystems in the immediate areas surrounding spills. Thankfully, due to the policies that we have enacted over the past few years, Mr. President, in the Senate, and will continue this session, the population that deals with this issue will continue to decline as we transition to new forms of energy. If you think about our homeowners insurance policies now, I don't heat my home with oil. My energy comes from gas, it comes from electric, yet what do? Those insurance costs are spread out among the entire insured pool, whereas if we have electricity and there's a fire in your home, that is generally paid for in your insurance coverage. If there is a gas explosion, again, generally covered. We're just saying treat those that heat with liquid fuel and oil the same that you would with those that heat or energize their home with electricity and gas. By taking action today in the Senate, we can ensure that when families enroll in a homeowner's insurance policy, that policy is comprehensive and actually protects their investment and their savings from factors often outside of their control. I want to thank you again, Mr. President. I hope this bill is adopted as it has been prior. Thank you so much.